Hello and welcome back to Urban Yoke. My name is Giulia, and yeah, here we are today. In this video, I am making a kind of end of winter, start of spring pumpkin soup. Something I really enjoy, and it's easy enough to make a whole bunch of and, pack it away for those rainy days when you don't feel like cooking. But seeing as I'm having one of those negative 10 spoons available kind of days, I thought I would talk a little bit about the pregnancy and what that was like for me as someone with Syringolmyelia, with the chronic illness, with I guess 2 chronic illnesses, because I do have asthma as well, and that was affected. So I guess I don't know, I'm not even too sure where to start. It was very much a blur. The first 2 months I felt kind of normal, but I was also dealing with I guess some kind of withdrawals from my pain management, my pain treatment, because obviously when you're pregnant, you cannot take anything other than the occasional paracetamol, which, if you have a high pain, does very little to assist in that. And maybe that's not true for everyone, but it is most of the people I know with pain that derives from some kind of neurological issue. Paracetamol is just not gonna cut it. Maybe a light headache, sure. That's just an unfortunate truth about being sick. But yeah, for the most part, I kind of remember feeling somewhat normal, in that it was my usual pain, just more obvious or more acutely aware of it, because there was no pain management in place, other than lying down and some hot showers. And it was peculiar, I guess. You're also stuck in the excitement of it all in the beginning. I imagine that's true for everyone who is about to have a child. In the first few months, there's a lot of excitement, the butterflies in the stomach and all of that, titillating stuff. For others, there's a lot of nausea, but I'm quite used to nausea, so it didn't bother me at first. That kind of came a little bit later, when I started getting a bit heavier and motion sickness became much more difficult to deal with. So to give you a bit of background, for those of you who don't know, I'm South African Italian, my husband's South African, and we moved to Italy a little under 3 years ago. And just as I was about to pursue my kind of new treatment plan, my new pain management plan, we found out that I was pregnant and we were going to have a little darling to add to our family, which prevented me from continuing that. And so it was kind of a weird time. But I also hadn't gotten my license yet, or we hadn't gotten a car yet here in Italy, because you cannot convert the South African driver's license. You have to redo the entire thing. And because we hadn't do that, and we live in what's considered a remote village, but it's mostly because public transport is basically none, we would have to take the bus down the mountain and then catch a train, sometimes 2 trains, sometimes 2 buses. It all depends on what was happening with public transport that day and which hospital we had to go to. And our nearest hospital is quite a small hospital and is not well equipped to deal with bizarre cases, or at least people who have conditions that are not common. And I'm not a big fan of that hospital, neither is my husband, so it was a challenge, but it's our closest hospital, and seeing as we didn't have a car and all that jazz, we had to kind of settle with that one. And having to do this, once a month to twice a month, just to go to the hospital for the checkups, with the increasing motion sickness issues, because I just suffer with motion sickness, and during pregnancy it was horrific. It was truly painful. I do remember that aspect of it quite well. Other parts are a little, like I said, more blurry. It kind of all just becomes one memory, if I can put it that way, versus sections of the pregnancy itself. And that makes it a little bit harder to really reflect upon what it was truly like. From what I understand, most women experience that. There seems to be a haze over it, and you become nostalgic of the good parts. And in my opinion, that's just to ensure that we will actually reproduce again. Because if you had to just remember everything the way it was, I doubt that there would be so many people on the planet. Or so many people would be, jumping up to have more children. It's not the most efficient way of bringing life into the world, I believe. But that's just me. That's just me. Doesn't take away from how incredibly magical it is. So, yeah, as I was saying, in the beginning, it was kind of normal, but then the nausea was definitely an issue. And as I started to grow, and I was put on weight, as well as the belly growing, the pain started. My spine was not happy. I could feel that it was intensely uncomfortable for most of the time. It made sleeping very difficult, and sleep is just generally something I struggle with, mostly due to pain and vivid dreaming. And during pregnancy, you can experience vivid dreaming as well, so this was also intensified, and it prevented me from getting the proper sleep that I really wanted or needed. And so I found myself kind of passing out during the day at times, just on the couch. It must have looked very funny. And so I remember the pain in my hips being quite intense. I remember my spine hurting a lot, my shoulders and my head. All of my usual pains were just much more pronounced. And that was very hard for me to deal with, to really separate it from a medical situation, in that because I'm so used to just having to deal with medical pain, pain that's a symptom of a disease, and not pain that is of pregnancy, which is actually a good thing, or a positive thing, at least in this case. And that took a really long time. I think it was up until basically the end of the pregnancy. Towards the end of the pregnancy, I started to realize, like, wait a minute, this is actually not so bad. There's a finish line here. This is all for something. This isn't just some random pain or new symptoms, or an increase of symptoms, or an increase of intensity of symptoms. So that was a bit of a funny thing for me, because it just felt like more of the same for a long time. And I'm very grateful to have had my husband by my side throughout it all, because he was a big reminder in the letting me know this is not forever, and having him there to hold his hand to go to the appointments with me made a big difference. I was genuinely terrified. I'm not good at going to hospitals. I have spent a lot of time in hospitals and with doctors and misunderstood, misdiagnosed. There's a lot of that, and many with syringomyelia and other chronic illnesses, other rare diseases in particular. It's something we all experience. And it's really hard to shake that feeling that it's going to happen again. And it was way, way more intense, way scarier when I knew I was carrying out, our little bean, carrying our little Finley. I knew something was more precious happening inside. And I couldn't bear the thought of something happening to our child because of negligence, because doctors just don't listen. And so I had a lot of anxiety, and I'm sure that contributed to quite a bit of the pain and the headaches and the stomach pain. I was also very adamant about not taking painkillers. I did not want to expose her to painkillers, even though they said, paracetamol is safe. I'm like, well, if it doesn't help, there's no point in taking it, right? That's just silly business. So a lot of it was my husband rubbing my feet, sitting on our balcony in summer with my feet in hot water, relaxing my back, sitting on the rocking chair. That's where I got a lot of my work done. And I'd listen to music while I was working. And it's lovely to see our daughter now enjoy that very music that I played. And she dances to it. And she seems genuinely excited by hearing it. It was really beautiful. Some general pregnancy thoughts though. I remember the day we heard her heartbeat. I remember the day that we got to see her as a person. It wasn't just another scan. You could see that she was a person. And it dawned on me that I was growing a life inside of me. A life that was brought into this world by us. Loving parents who would do anything for her. Really coming to terms with that idea and what it means to be a mother, and understanding that she has brought a whole new aspect to my being. I don't feel like I've lost anything. I think I've only gained. And though I'm in way more pain, because she is a busy girl, I'm definitely more pain. I'm sleeping a lot less. I can say the same for my husband. We're not exactly the youngest parents either. That does not help in, being around to do these things. That I wouldn't change it for the world. It's a remarkable experience. In the end, all the pain and all the discomfort, it didn't really matter, and it doesn't matter. It was just another thing to get over. And this time for a very different reason. Not just myself, but for my family. In some ways it makes it easier when it's for the people you love. So for me, I would say, in one hand, I was very lucky during the pregnancy, because the general pregnancy symptoms that many women deal with such as the severe nausea, was not as bad for me. I didn't have such intense cravings that I would turn into a monster. There were certain things that I craved, and I could eat a lot, but I had spent most of my life eating through nausea, so that really didn't bother me. And I had an appetite. For the first time in a really, really, really long time, I actually had an appetite, and it was really, really fantastic. So I enjoyed that. The pain was definitely overwhelming, and there were some days where I wasn't sure I was going to cope, I was going to manage. I wasn't sure that I could make it through. But then I did. And I feel so much better for it now. In that I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I had the support that I had. Having my husband around was truly awesome. And my mom assisting was also just fantastic. Her coming in and helping where she could made a big difference. So like I said, it's just a big blur, and I really wasn't sure what to do, how to feel about it at the time, and even after. This is why it's taken me so long to talk about it. I was intensely uncomfortable. It was very difficult to walk. My legs hurt constantly. And I changed as a person. I eventually found out that I'm actually allergic to shellfish now after the pregnancy. And I like peanut butter and I like mushrooms. This was not true prior. It's amazing how much it actually changes you. And there's the other aspect of having asthma. My asthma was intensified so much, and my hay fever was just overwhelming. My body did not cope well with that either. It was very hard to breathe. And the bigger I got, the harder it got. But like I said, I just dealt with it and moved on. In the end, I ended up giving natural birth after 18 hours of labor with no epidural, because my spine, that was not going to happen. And there was a lot of back and forths in different hospitals to try and figure out what the best way forward was. I ended up actually having to speak to a neurosurgeon in South Africa to get a conclusive answer about what the best way forward was, cesarean or natural and so on. Eventually, natural, no epidural, just go for it. And though it was extremely painful, though I'd say after the first 6 hours, the pain becomes less and it's more coping, or at least the acknowledgement of the pain. And I'm happy for it, because the recovery was much better. There is some damage after the pregnancy. I can feel that I hurt a lot more, but for the most part, I'm fine. It's not bad, and that's pretty cool. In the end, it worked out. It was pretty scary, but in the end, it worked out. And now these are just some of my kind of initial thoughts that I wanted to share about the pregnancy and what it was like for me while I make this soup. Which, of course, if you would like to make it, I will leave a link down in the description to the recipe. But just remember, cooking is your art. You make it to your taste. So change where you would like, or add or omit. Make it your own. So that's pretty much that. And if you would like to know more about the actual birthing process, I'm happy to share. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you're interested in, and then perhaps I can do a short story on that. And if you'd like to know anything else, again, just let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys, or you guys will hear me in the next video. So toodaloo for now, and see you then.